Hi, this is Kuukuu and I'll be showing you how I take my visualizations and bring them into the real world. Okay, so when I'm thinking about a drawing, I have my mental space and then I have the space in front of me that I'm working with. So there's usually a piece of paper, but in this case, I'm actually working on my Surface Pro 3. This was done in about 1 minute. I'm going to show you how I did it. So I think about what I want to draw first. And I say, okay, what do I want my picture to look like? What is this picture? And then as I'm thinking about these different qualities I want to have, I get a picture of what I want the picture to actually portray. And the more I think about this image, the more solid it becomes in my mental space. What is a mental space? You know, like when someone says, do you know what an orange looks like? And you can probably picture that orange. It's orange, it's a circle. It might have that little nub. And you can either like just see it floating essentially in this other dimension by itself, or you see someone holding an orange, or there's some space in which you are picturing this orange and the surroundings of the orange may or may not exist. So when I'm visualizing pictures, it's literally the same thing, but in art form. So let's say I want to draw a picture of a guy's, let's say, magician's face. That's what I was doing earlier. So I picture what I want his general feel to be. And first off, your visualization and your actualization, they are complements of each other. So while I'm drawing something, if I have a vision in my brain and I'm putting it on paper, I'm allowing them both to essentially talk as I'm drawing and allow my vision to change as I'm drawing the picture. So even if I have this very hardcore picture in my brain, if I'm drawing it and in this world I feel as though it could be better if I did XYZ, I'll start doing XYZ. Like right now I can visualize him like doing that side lean thing and maybe I want that. So now my visualization has changed a little to accommodate what I feel a magician who's doing the side arm, the side turn would look. And this is as I'm drawing. What I do is I have an active visualization. I'm very active in the brain when I'm drawing. And especially when I'm not having a reference, because I feel as though references are just essentially a solidified visualization of art that you could be making. And it's very efficient when you're drawing very fast because you can just look at your reference to respark that kindle of imagination that your brain wants to do. And already you can see like I'm picturing him having a high collar and very ornate things on that collar to signify his magician status. And his shoulders should be very prominently angled and angular. His chest may or may not be that prominent. Let me just move that a little. That's my recording software. And I'll draw those details out on probably later steps. But on this first step of taking my visualization to the real world, I'm just saying, how can I make my paper reflect what I'm seeing in my brain? And there's a lot of stylistic choices you can take to do this. And you don't even have to draw the figure out at first. You can draw like the eyes and say, from those eyes, the rest of this picture shall be made. I'm just doing it like this because this is pretty standard. I'm using guidelines to say, okay, where do I want these features to lie on his face? And then there'll be moments, just like right now when I'm about to talk about it, where my visualization kind of like flickers images in my head, images in my head of what could possibly be drawn. Like in this face, I see that I could either have him being very serious or very sly, just based off of like what I've drawn so far. I can actually physically see it in this other dimensional space in my brain. So let's say I'm gonna actually save it at this point. Like I'm gonna actually make another layer, and I'm gonna go with my first visualization. And right now I'm seeing him staring very flatly at the camera. So what I'm gonna do is on his eyes, I'm gonna draw his eyes being very flat and looking at the camera. And the way I'm doing that is I'm gonna have the visualization of his eyes being very flat, as I'm saying, and draw the other eye to be that exact same flat on the other side. So once I've drawn that, in this sketch state, I'll go back over it till I feel as though my visualization is being honored in the physical world. Like right now, I feel as though this eye could be a little bit different. So I'm just going over it till the silhouettes match up to how I'm seeing him look at my paper. And I often try not to undo, but just go back over lines with erasers because I want my visualization to continuously be active. And if I do an undo step, what's going to happen is my imagination is going to be jerked. It's going to be like, where did that line go? I was using that. And then I won't be able to picture essentially the same thing I would have pictured if that line was there and I'm just erasing it. So often I will just keep drawing over lines until I can visualize where in those lines I want a face to be. And as you can see, the more I go over it, the more I'm actually getting this face drawn because I'm literally just putting what my brain is seeing. And I want him to be kind of stern, so I already see that his mouth is going to be a little downwards. And I don't want him to have very puckered lips like that. And if I know that it's completely off what I want, like this, I just literally do the undo button. And my visualization is doing a mental handshake with me saying, yeah, don't even have that as a thought. But it will make notes like that line that's in the middle, I don't like it. And so I'll erase it. But that was also a guideline, so I'm not even like pressed. But you see how easy this is? If you work with your brain when you're drawing is fun as hell. Like, do you see this? Like, this took, what, less than 5 minutes to really draw this part of the picture. And I'm using the simplest of thoughts to, ooh, see? Like, I'm seeing this, like, as I'm drawing, and it's so much fun. This is probably why I love drawing so much. But as you can see, he looks very serious. Doesn't look to be any games played. His nose is very structured. And when you don't know how to draw something, what I would say to do is learn how to visualize what you can't draw. I don't know if that made sense. But if you can't draw ears, for example, learn to visualize what an ear looks like without even having it on paper. Learn to look at pictures and be able to take that picture and see it without you having the picture in front of you. Because the quicker you do that, the more you'll be able to absorb in the coming time. Like, even if I can't draw something, if I've looked at enough pictures of ears and oranges and blah, 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 I can pull that image out whenever I need to. And it's really not that big of a deal. Continuing with this stoic magician, I'm going through his eyebrow situation. I really don't care for this right now because if I wanted to really have an emotion, I would go and try to look at myself and use that visualization after I take a picture to really make it come to life when I'm drawing it on this surface. So I'm just going to add in some very basic hair, really squiggly lines. Because he's so stoic, he probably doesn't even care to have a fancy hairdo. He's just like, yeah, I got hair. Cool story, bro. And there you go. A very simple drawing that was taking like what, 5 minutes to draw. And then what I would do is I would just start on a new layer and redraw it over so that I can get the effect that I wanted. Okay, so that's visualization coming to life from one aspect of my brain. So delete, all gone. Now let's say I want to change that outlook and make something else. I visualize it first again. So let's say I wanted to make a sly, smiling magician. So this time when I'm working on the eyes, I want to physically see like a smiling eyes. And once I get that feeling of I get like how I want him to be smiling, I just draw it. And I can see this person smiling. And so now I'm drawing his eyes being very, what's it called? Wistfully? Same eyes kind of almost, but these are more playful in the fact that they look more playful. This needs to be moved. And if I don't have a vision, like if I can't see it in my brain, then that's a great place to look for reference. And I'm adding more life to these because he's more playful, so there would be more reflection and more of a reality in his actual portraying of it. And he's a magician, so let's make that nose a thing. His smirk comes out. And his eyelids are now pronounced. The eyebrows are so important, but once again, I'm skimping on them because I would look at a reference to see exactly how I want them to look. And I would use my face, but currently I'm not going to do that. See? I just shade in where I think the outlines of the face could be. I pay attention to the cheekbones as well as the neck bones. Jawline. The jawline is what I meant to say. And then I just shade in until my visualization says, okay, you filled in enough of the area that I can see in my brain for my visualization space to be happy. And I do constant check-ins with my visualizations to say, am I going where I want with this picture and this face? And if I feel as though I'm going too far from what I originally set out to do, I'll go back, and let's say I wanted him to have better cheekbones, I'd go back and accentuate that at this step and make sure that I'm being aware of what I'm doing as I'm doing it. See, now he looks more Asian-esque because he has a very prominent cheek. And once again, I'm not hitting the undo button. I'm just going to erase the area till I feel comfortable and I get the effect I want with the picture that I'm drawing as I'm drawing it. See, now he has a little chin. Going to erase these guidelines because this was the second version of the same magician. So I can see more of the reality of what I've drawn. I try to keep the size of the brush small because I don't want any random thing erased when I don't want it to be erased. And also, if you get a note from your brain, pay attention to it. Like, I'm looking right now and I'm like, his eyes are very angular and very Asian-esque. So do I want that? And then my brain says, do you? Do you really now? And then it will give me other options upon realizing it. It will say, okay, make it more boxed versus more, what is it, cat-eyed. If you want it to be different, make sure you add eyelids if you want. See how that looks. And then I'll do a reassessment to say, good? Okay, cool. I'll do that. Then going back over certain details just to make sure that they're existent. Shade a little if I wanted it. I don't like how far the chin, it should be farther down. Like it should be right about there if I'm doing this. And like I said, it's all about letting your brain work as you're drawing. If you go on autopilot and draw, that's good if you just are drawing, I guess. But like when you have your brain engaged, you learn as you're drawing and you pick up on your corrections very fast. And the next time you draw a similar or same thing, your brain remembers because you paid attention last time you did it. It's kind of like going to school. If you don't pay attention in class, you won't retain any of the information. And even if you go back to the same class, you'll be like, oh my God, we went over this? And your brain's like, yeah, you just weren't paying attention. And now that this guy is more sly, I'm adding his hair to have more of a distinct choice. And I think that sly people have good looking hair for some reason. And even though it's still kind of like the same style as the other guy, there's a difference in how this character is wearing it. That's why twins can be so interesting when you have an evil and good twin, because even with the same hairstyle, they look completely different. Well, I hope that this video helped you in the act of bringing your visualizations to the material plane. And it's just a matter of seeing things in your brain, focusing on them enough to where you can actually feel that image, and then bringing that image into the reality of the world, one line and sketch at a time. And even though I'm using this, I just did this to draw a face. If I wanted to draw something else, it's the same thing. Let's say I wanted to design a bag, and I want the bag to have necessary compartments for, let's say, my surface. I write this out to make sure that I don't forget, by the way, if I'm designing stuff like this. And let's say I wanted to hold my MacBook, and I wanted it to hold my phone and 3 accessories. So I say, what do I want this bag to look like when it's closed? Because most of the time it's going to be closed. And in my head, I already can see the flaps that I need, what I want from it, how I'm going to do it. It's going to be pretty thick to be able to hold all this stuff in case that it falls. I don't want any of this stuff to be damaged. And all of this is just components that I'm literally seeing as I'm drawing. Design elements are like, okay, how do I want it to close? Do I want it to have a 2-latch system such as this and this? Where do I want the phone to be? Maybe if it's in the front, I could hang it right there, and that way the phone is quickly accessible. But how is that design going to fare if there's empty space right here? How am I going to fill out that space? Maybe it's like a Pokebag or whatever they're called now in the games. And maybe I make it so that all the lines add up, and it's a structural choice of how you put in the phone, and the phone has to be exactly put in to a certain size. But you see, like, all this was just literally created in my brain, and I'm just having a conversation with it saying, is this okay to you? And then if it says, how about we take out the best parts of this and do it again, very basically, and really accentuate the choices that you want. Like, what if the bag closed and it was at a triangle form that lined up to where you put in your phone? And then my brain's like, yeah, I kind of like that. The sides could be one color. Like, let's say that's all black. This side's gold or something. And just work with your visualization skills, and you'll find that your art will love you for it, and you'll start loving your drawings because you can see it every step of the way. And I would do another one with using references to do the same thing, but this was just to get you to understand how I use visualizations to create the art that I create. If you have any other questions, or if you want me to actually go better detailed into something I've drawn, or draw something completely full out, just let me know and I'll do so in another video. But for now, I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you like this video, subscribe and look at some of my other content that I have posted on the internet as well under the other Kuukuu Omoy channels. But that's it. I hope you have a wonderful day and subscribe.